I actually minored in HR. So look at all of us human resource people
Heck yeah.
together.
This woman, rock star. This is Fraud to Fearless.
Friends, you are made for more purpose, more confidence, more impact. Because when you live fearless, you inspire others to do the same.
Let's go. Hey, you guys. We're talking about this mini series is our making of a founder. And today we're so excited and honored to have Lora Palmer on the show. Hayden, I have to introduce you to Lora, the real introduction, and then we'll get into like all the fancy, amazing things that she's done. But I have to tell you how I know her, this claim to fame, because one day you guys are going to see she is going places. So this is how I know Lora. We met in high school, and I actually don't remember the very first moment that we met Lora, but this is my memory of Lora in high school because we played soccer together. And Lora was one of those athletes. I mean, I have competition in me, Hayden, right?
Mhm.
Like, I want to be the best at what I do. When I met Lora, we had to do these things to prep for soccer. And our coach would make us run. What did we call them, Lora? It was Hell Week, but what did we call those runs?
I think hell runs. Like, I think everything was
Hell
just hell
runs?
about it. But wait, did we have a specific
Do
name?
we
It was
have
just
a
like
name?
this.
Okay, we had to do these runs that were literally crazy. And we would run and run and run. And Lora was always in the front. She was one of those people that, like, you see her and I'm like, I'm going to catch her. I'm going to catch her. I'm going to catch her. I never could catch her. She was just one of those people that you meet and, like, you want to be the best, but then you meet them and you're like, you tip your hat. You're like, okay, you're better than me.
No,
That's
no.
fine. And I respect you. Let's go.
Oh my God.
Yes, she's literally incredible. She went on to play college soccer. And now she's started her own business. She's a mom of 2. She is an incredible friend, spouse to her husband. Like, I can't wait for you guys to get to know her. This is Lora. But Lora, will you tell us a little bit about you? There's so many fancy things. I just had to say, this is how I know you from the beginning.
That is how we know each other, soccer. And Brooke is an amazing soccer player. I'm sure she still is. So that's funny that you're like the one. I feel like I remember you being in front. So I just feel like I was like catching my breath the whole time. So that's not how I remember things. But thank you for saying that. It's hard to, I feel like there's different versions of me, right? And so right now, if I tell a little bit about myself, the thing I'm most proud of is being a mom. And so that's kind of when you say, tell me about yourself, I just think about my kids. And so like my kids are me. So yeah, I have a little 6.5-year-old little boy and a 3.5-year-old little girl. And being their mom is just all consuming in the best way. So, and then I'm also a business owner. So that's me.
Brooke, this makes so much more sense now that you guys have known each other since high school. I can see you two just being a tag team on the soccer team. It's funny, Hell Week for me playing football, there was no way in the world I was going to be at the front. I didn't even think about competition. I was just trying to survive the sprint. So I'm glad you two Spartans can just fight it out on who's going to be in the front.
No.
I'll be way in the back, just trying not to get sick, okay?
No,
But-
Hayden, what I didn't mention is how we reconnected, because how we reconnected was, I've been following you on social media. Like, we've been friends. You kind of went off. I was living in Texas. You were in South Carolina. You moved back. But I noticed that Lora started talking about she had this idea of something that she wanted to start. And she was so just like open, vulnerable. I think you even mentioned, I have this memory of you saying, I've been listening to Guy Raz or something, the podcast all about entrepreneurs and how people start how they found their companies. And I was like, I listened to that too. And I was like, like we're meant to be friends still. And so I started following her journey, and that's when I kind of heard about her company, the Bonobo Baby. So,
Yeah.
Hayden, I want you to
That's a
hear about like what the Bonobo Baby is.
Yeah, I mean, I've done some research, Laura, and I have some comments for you later in the show. It sounds like you played college soccer. Tell us about college. Let's start there.
So I played soccer at Southern Virginia University, super small school. Was a walk-on there because I actually, after high school, was kind of burnt out with soccer. Didn't want to keep playing, but I got married really young, moved to Virginia with my husband. He was a football player, so he kind of like pushed me, and he literally pushed me in the office of the soccer coach and was like, "Oh, she plays soccer." So he's like, "You could try out." And I said, "Okay." So did pretty well in college with that, but I didn't graduate from Southern Virginia. I actually graduated from a small business school in Rhode Island called Bryant University. Got my majored in communication, minored in HR management, and then we eventually moved to South Carolina. And I worked in the corporate world, and it was not for me. I just didn't love it.
Yeah.
I loved the work. I don't know that I was more in like customer support, and that was just a drain. And I love animals, and there was a vet office right across the street from us. And I s- I think that once you hear a little bit more about me, when I have something I want to do, I'm just going to do it. And so I love animals and thought I want to work in a vet clinic. I want to work with animals. So I remember I just emailed the office and said, "Hey, can I come shadow? I just want to see what it's like. You guys don't have to pay me. Like, let me just show up." And she responded and said, "We're looking for an assistant, so come on over and just interview." And it kind of grew to me eventually working to be a vet tech. And that was
Mm.
my dream job to this day, like best job. I loved it so much. And then I had my son, and that was like, ah, the best moment ever. And I didn't know how much I was going to love being a mom until I became one. And so that's kind of how like the ground roots of things beginning.
How long were you a vet tech?
4 years. Well, it grew to vet tech. So I started off as a receptionist at the clinic, and I was doing their social media, and then it was a vet assistant, and then I worked to become a vet tech. So probably the title of vet tech was a little over a year.
Do you feel like in college and in early career, like corporate America, like customer service jobs are just tough? And then you found your passion with animals and spent 4 years as like in the vet space. In this time period, did you always have entrepreneur ideas? Like, did you think about stuff and was like, I could do this better, or like, hey, like maybe I should start a business? Was that a theme in your early career?
So because I went to a business school, we were required to take business classes. And so I actually did start a small business while I was in college for a class and tried to make it a thing, but I to be honest, I was not the right person for that. It was the intentions were really good, but I just didn't have the experience or knowledge, and I learned a lot from trying to do that. I think that I always had that little bit of an entrepreneurial like spirit, but I just didn't think I was the right person to do that. My granddad is a very successful businessman and an author, and so I saw that and just thought that's so cool, but that's not me, you know? It was kind of like this battle of I love that idea, but I can't do that.
So I'm excited because Hayden, I don't know if you've seen, and you should go check out her page. She has amazing content on there. It's like entertaining and informative. Like it's good. So she has this gift. Do you feel like this is where social media skills were developed and began is this a foreshadowing?
So when I quit my corporate job and I was like trying to find myself, like I said, I love animals and I had my 2 dogs and I started to just kind of like do photography a little bit, and I created an Instagram account for them. And it did pretty good. I think it got to like 2,000 followers, right? And so that was kind of my experience with social media. And I reached out to the manager of the vet clinic and was like, hey, look, I have this dog account that I grew. You guys aren't doing social media right now. You probably should. So can I come run your social media? It was kind of like that. So my dog account got me the job.
What? Okay, so let's move into how did you get from here? You had your son, then what? How did you get from there to starting your own business?
All right, buckle up, guys, because this is where the journey begins. So I had my son and loved being a mom so much, right? Did not expect that for myself. Took a long time. My husband and I were married about 10 years before we had kids because I was so scared of being a mom. And had my son and just like the most joy I could ever feel as a human. I didn't know you could feel that. And so decided we can have another, like, let's have another baby. Pregnancy was fine, but labor and delivery, there was a lot of trauma that happened and some mistakes that happened by the hospital that led me to be pretty physically sick and mentally sick. So after I had my little girl, I really did lose that joy for being a mom. It just felt like it completely was taken away. I had almost no emotion, really. Experienced some pretty severe postpartum depression, no longer even felt safe in my house in Charleston. Charleston became like this feeling of trauma. And so we eventually, my husband, in order to basically save my life, was like, we've got to go to Utah because my mom was out here and then his parents were out here. And I just wasn't, I mean, I was a robot of a human at that point. So we came to Utah. We were not planning, the plan was not to stay in Utah. It was to like go spend the summer here and see if I can recover. But we got here and we just weren't going to leave. My mom was here. I needed a lot more. We needed a lot of help. So started to begin my journey of recovering mentally and physically from what had happened. And my son, after we had been in Utah for about a year, my little boy was diagnosed with autism, which is very financially a big financial responsibility when you have a special needs child. And I had like these little ideas of, because I had worked before and was able, I mean, vet techs don't make anything, but it was like enough to help pay for groceries, right? I had been kind of getting to the mental space where I was thinking I want to help out and bring some money somehow. But then when my son was diagnosed with autism, I was like, oh shoot, I need to do something, because my husband he had a good job. He has a really good job now, but it was not enough to cover what we were about to experience with our son. And so that's kind of when like these like little business ideas would like pop into my head. But that was the spark that I was like, I'm doing it. I don't care. Like, I don't care if I am the wrong or right person. I need to find a way. Like, my dream, and to this day is still my dream, is to be able to build a home, pay with it for with cash in my backyard for my son to have his own house so that he can be right next to me if he needs it, but still have some independence. So that's like my motivation.
So thank you for sharing all of that. And it sounds like it is just childbirth and pregnancy and the aftermath. I've learned so much, Lora. It's just like, it is just an incredible journey. And I think, especially, I can talk on this call, like I'll have to represent like the father perspective. We learn so much. And I think from a father perspective, we take so much for granted. Something that on the surface sounds as simple as like breastfeeding. It is like running marathons. Like, it is so wild, just all the stuff that you have to learn, and like, what size pump parts do you need? And like, you are literally entering like a whole different world. So it is just wild that around kind of this similar time that you're navigating all these family changes, I imagine this is when like the idea for the business kind of first started.
Yeah. I mean, when I had my son is when the moment of this baby bidet like entered my head because I had also been, you guys, there's so many, I have had so many different like hobbies, I guess, but I was a cosmetologist as well. So did cosmetology school in high school. So had practiced doing hair out of my house when we were in Charleston. And my mom had turned my hair cutting station into a diaper changing station because it was on the first floor. And she's like, you're going to want to have like diapers and everything on the main floor when you have your son. And I remember when there was this, it's like glued in my memory, this moment, because I had gone back to work at the vet clinic. Lachlan was about 4.5 months old. So in the like process of starting solids, right? And poop changes. And I was trying to clean him and I was rushing to get to work. These little poop flakes were not coming off. He was screaming too. I feel like maybe I could do 2 wipes before he was like, I am done, right? But it takes a lot more than that. It's like 4 to 6 to clean a poopy baby bum. So he's screaming. I look over and I have this spray bottle tucked behind my mirror. And so I just reach for it and I start spraying the poop. He's happy. He's not even like startled. And it just comes right off. And I was like, are you kidding me? This whole time, I could have just been spritzing with water and I would barely have to wipe him clean. Why didn't other moms tell me this? I was almost so annoyed that no one had given me this hack, and then eventually found out no other moms were doing it either. They were just as surprised as me. And I told my husband, oh, we figured it out. Let's just bring the spray bottle everywhere and we'll just keep track of it. And we never did. We would be shouting from different levels of the house because once you use it, you don't want to go back, but it's just not as convenient as your baby wipes, right? Your mental capacity as a parent is reach for the wipes, reach for the diaper, and that's what you're going to do. And you don't remember this spray bottle of water until you open the diaper and realize, oh crap, pun intended, it's a poopy diaper.
Yes.
So that's when the idea, like, it was more like I would tell my husband, I wish someone, not me, someone would figure out how to just attach a spray bottle to the baby wipes. It should just all go together. So that was a constant thing in my head during diaper changes, really. So, but it took me 4 years to advance to I'm going to be the one to do this.
Wow. What changed? So let's talk about those 4 years. First, side note, Lora, before we started recording, I told Brooke, because we were talking about the idea of a baby bidet, and I was like, Brooke, I use adult bidets, and just like the baby bidets, once you go like bidet, you never go back. You know, like it is just, I'm
Amen.
glad it's in common for adults and babies. So I
Yep.
love this idea. But let's talk about those 4 years. Oftentimes businesses happen by an accident. So you're literally changing in a salon, and the only thing you had was a spray bottle that turned into genius innovation by mistake. But over those 4 years, was it just the idea you couldn't get out of your head? Like, what changed in those 4 years to say, nope, I'm going to do this?
So having my baby girls are a whole different ball game when it comes to cleaning poop. Poop is super dangerous in the areas that they get poop in because they're in diapers. My daughter was hospitalized from a UTI at 5 weeks old. So she was in the hospital for 5 days. Only sign we had was she had a fever. And mind you, this is when I was having PTSD from hospitals. I was in a severe state of postpartum depression. So this was a whole new, like, I was so not capable of handling this moment, but you just had to, right? So I did not know that the bacteria from UTIs can get in their bloodstream. And if it enters that, the next place it goes is into their spinal fluid, and then it's deadly. That is why they're hospitalized, right? So that moment, I felt terrible because in my mind, I had been doing everything correctly, right? My husband and I, like, we're wiping from front to back. We're doing what everyone says. I remember when we got to take her home and had to go to the pediatrician just to do a checkup, make sure everything was good after being hospitalized, I asked the pediatrician, I said, I'm terrible. I can't believe I let this happen. I showed her how I was wiping. I said, I'm trying to get everything out. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And she said, oh, no, baby wipes just don't do a great job. And I was like, oh, okay. And she's like, for baby girls, like, you should always be using water. And I was like, okay, nobody told me that. And also, I can't give my daughter a bath every single time she poops. It's just not possible. I also have a 2.5-year little boy who is very demanding. There's just no way. And so that spray bottle
Right.
idea, like, it came back, right? Where I thought, oh my gosh, if I just had water be a part of my baby wipes, this would be totally easy. This would have never happened because I would have been able to clean better. So that idea came back, and I think that I'm just going to say that probably for every single entrepreneur or business owner, there is that they have almost this extreme downfall, right? This moment of I can barely survive right now, and I'm going to climb out of it, right? And that's the moment that you constantly draw back to because you have gone through really hard things. So now the idea of starting a business is just another thing that you're going to accomplish because you've already done something really hard. And so for me, these moments of extreme postpartum depression and PTSD, and then my daughter and moving and all these things that I was like, I have to get out of this funk. I have to be happy to be a mom again. And then my son getting diagnosed with autism, drawing back on all these things. I thought this is an idea that has kept in my head. And I think there's a reason for that. But I've done the hardest things I could ever do in my life already, that I know starting a business is going to be hard. It's going to be mentally taxing. But because I made it out of this hole, I was extremely confident that I could handle the hardness that a business was going to bring on me, because the end goal was so worth and is still so worth all of these hard moments that the business life gives you.
I resonate so much with you. Every entrepreneur gets to this point that you're in the dark abyss, and you have this problem that you've experienced, and you see a solution, and you feel the call, like you hear the call and you realize it needs to be me. It needs to be me, at least for this circumstances. Usually we just build the thing for ourselves at first, is what the pattern that I noticed. It's like, this is going to make my life easier, so I'm going to build it for me. I'm curious. So you have this water bottle, you get this information from your pediatrician, you have this huge traumatic experience with your daughter, and you're like, okay, all of these things are aligning. This is a solution that's helping me. What did you do next? Like,
I continued to ignore, right? As we do, of this thought of this baby bidet. It had always been called a baby bidet in my mind because we are bidet people too at my home. The exact moment I can tell you
Nice.
where the fire was just like, I'm doing this, was my son came home from his special needs program that he was in, and he was still in diapers until he was about 4.5 years old. And I was going and changing one of his diapers, and he still had poop stuck to his bum, and then of course that means rash, right? You cannot leave poop on a bum. Any bum, it needs to be cleaned. So I just was like, oh my gosh, this is so needed, right? And that's where it was like, I'm doing this. And I had drawn back from the moments of me starting a business in college and being so naive and so arrogant, honestly, of if you have a good idea, that just means everyone's going to want it. Uh, that is not the case. And so for me, it was super important to validate what had been helpful to me, that it was going to be helpful to other moms. So it began I did this in a very step-by-step process where I gave myself numbers and goals I had to hit until I could move to the next step. And my husband and I our goal was honestly, we just couldn't go into debt for it. So it had to be possible without spending money.
Hmm. That is very unique, Laura. I think some people, when they have their fire moment, it's, I'm going to literally go get a loan, or I'm going to start raising capital, and like, we're going to do this right now because I want to be Jeff Bezos, and that yacht looks pretty nice. So the sooner I can get that yacht, the better. Let's talk X's and O's a little bit. Like, give us an example of, you said you had these goals and you had to meet certain thresholds before you moved to the next step. Like, give us an example of what one of those goals looked like.
So I had started listening to, I had to educate myself first, right? So I started listening to Idea to Startup and How I Built This, just to kind of get ideas of what other entrepreneurs were doing. But I realized that I needed to find out if other moms even experienced this problem. So on my own personal Instagram page, I just created a story and said, hey, will anyone take a survey for me? I'm working on something. Can you just answer a couple questions? And if you have any other friends, will you just send it to them? I made it really short. It was like a 6-question survey because I knew like moms don't have time to do this. So I made sure it was going to take them a minute. And then I had a couple people talk to me on the phone and I just asked them questions about diaper changes. How many wipes do you use? Does your baby experience diaper rash? Have you ever tried using water? What would it need? Like, what is the most important to you? Ingredients, convenience. And all of the answers kind of fit. There was no leading questions to if you had a spray bottle. It wasn't like that. It was more just let me give you an idea if there's a problem. Because if there's not a problem, you cannot create a problem. It's not going to work. There needs to be a problem to solve. So I needed to make sure there were other moms who were experiencing a problem I had. And the survey, everything came back the way I would have wanted it to, right? And so that was the next step, right? I thought, okay, we can push a little bit forward because in my mind, a spray bottle does not work. It gets the job done perfectly, but in a busy mom's life, it's not compact. It doesn't travel well. It's not convenient, right? So I had to figure out, am I the only mom who needs convenience or are there other moms who are like, and dads, right? Dads love the baby bidet, by the way. It's like the dad product. But I had to figure out if a spray bottle was enough or like me, there was like that missing piece. So I had about 20 different moms that I reached out to and just sent spray bottles to and had them test different versions and what they liked. And every single one came back with the same thing. This is the best thing ever. I cannot believe that this has helped so much, but I can't keep track of the thing. I love it, but I'm not going to use it because it's not right there. I need it to be right there. And I was like, ding, 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 me too. So that is when I decided I'm going to start my Instagram account.
I think this is the question that happens to all of us when we have this idea that solves a problem and we are like, this is a good idea. I want to start a business or I want to do this. Then the next question or doubt that immediately comes, at least what I've experienced is, well, is anybody else going to like it? Is anybody else going to use it? And there's this fear and doubt. And a lot of times that's what stops us and holds us back. So I love that you took this idea and you said, okay, well, I'm just going to go and see. No harm, no foul. Let's just put out a survey, ask all of these questions, and send people free products. This is like, or water bottles, right? Do you like this? Is this even a good idea to start? It's brilliant.
You know what was really helpful to me, and I think this could be helpful to anyone who is in that startup process or wants to start something but gets very discouraged as soon as they bring up their idea to someone, is I was listening to a podcast called Idea to Startup, and I think this was a big reason why I pushed forward. He said that if you have an idea and people respond, we all have like this sense, right, in us when like something's off. When someone responds to an idea we have and they almost give us this like, oh, and you can tell they feel uncomfortable. He said that's good. People don't like things that push boundaries, right? So you don't want people to be like, this is the best idea ever. You don't need that from your friends. You almost want that uncomfortable vibe from people because it means you have something. So for me, actually, I would tell close friends my idea and it would be like, oh, right? And I think had I not heard that guy say that, I would have been like, it's not good. It's not good. They don't like it. But I took that as maybe I have something because strangers were giving me really
something.
feedback. Yes. So I think that, I mean, obviously you have to listen to your customer and your target market, right? But if someone gives you a little bit of a weird vibe towards your idea, that doesn't mean anything. Like continue to do the research, continue to step forward because you actually want to make people uncomfortable a little bit if you're bringing something new to the table.
How did you come up with the name? How did you come up with the logo? And then the third piece is, who was your thought partner as you were navigating all of this? It sounds like you listened to a lot of podcasts, but did your husband play that role where you two are just like whiteboarding stuff and he's acting as your thought partner? How did that work?
Bonobo Baby. Like I said, I was obsessed with animals, and ChatGPT, thank goodness, right? I was trying to like work with ChatGPT on, I need it to be, there's marketing styles, right? But baby companies, round letters for some reason do better, right? So it was like, I need round, but I want it to be aligned with animals. And so it gave me, these different animal things, and a lot of it didn't work, or it was taken. I remember I was like, oh, the turtle, right? Dumb. But like that was taken, and it popped up Bonobo, and I remember reading what ChatGPT had said, and it was the bonobo monkey is a breed of chimpanzee that is the females are in charge. So it's not a male run I don't know, animal.
Community.
Yes,
Yeah.
community. The females are in charge, and then they're also known as the hippie monkey. Like hygiene is important, so they constantly are helping each other clean. And I just was like, that is so awesome. And it rhymed with oh no. So I remember like running out to my husband, be like, if your baby has an oh no, grab your bonobo. And he was like, cool. And I was just like, yeah. And that was it. And the name was not taken, Bonobo Baby. And I just went with it. And then the logo, the design was done. My younger sister is the most talented artist ever. And I will give her information on what I need, and she will spit out the most beautiful things. And so all of my packaging, all of the logo, everything about it is credited to her. Have no artistic ability at all. And so none of that is my doing. And then the person that was my sounding board was my husband. And I will say that he is a big part of why the product is at the simplicity that it is right now, because my husband is the kindest human being in the world, and he doesn't like to disappoint anyone. So it's really hard to almost get his 100% honest feedback with things. And when I had started, there was this hesitation from him when I had brought the idea, because he knew how helpful. I mean, he loved using the spray bottle too, but there was this huge fear, a very valid fear, that we cannot go into debt. We cannot spend money. He was so scared always. Anytime I brought up Bonobo Baby or what I was doing, there was this big fear. He was supportive, but it was hard for him. And I remember I asked a couple other people for their opinions and started designing the product in a way that I actually didn't love, but thought, oh, these people think it should be this way, so I should probably do it this way, right? And my husband was never really on board for that method. Essentially, it was a baby wipes dispenser that you would have to take your wipes out of, and it had a pocket that you could put a spray bottle in. It was just too complicated. Everything was going to cost, to get it manufactured, would have cost me around $50,000, which was not an option. When I had
Oh
found
my
out all these
gosh.
numbers,
Yeah.
and I would not have bought the product that I was working on. And at this point, I had already started sharing it with my small social media following, because I wanted to just the idea of building a brand was so important to me that I wanted people to feel like they were a part of it from day one. So before I even had a product, it wasn't until I had my name that's when I started the Instagram account, but I didn't have a product at all. So I was constantly using my Instagram account to take polls and get information from other moms. And so I had started developing this like baby wipes pouch, figured out a way to kind of like sew it so I could test if people would buy it, but it was not working because I couldn't make it waterproof. It was just way too complicated. And every time I'd bring it up to my husband, he would be like, yeah, no, this is good. And it just felt off. And I remember there was one day we were outside pushing our kids on the swing, and I just said, Jake, you don't love this. You've got to tell me what you think. I need to know exactly what's going on, because in my mind, you're either not supporting this, you don't believe in me. Like, it turned into all this like spiraling of, you don't believe in me. What's going on, right? And he finally was just like, your idea is amazing. The spray bottle, like, it needs to be a part of diaper changing. But you have made it way too complicated. It's too complicated. And we spent 4 hours talking about the complexity and remembering this Shark Tank episode of this guy who showed up on Shark Tank with this, and there's still a big thing now. It was this like sponge with a smiley face, right? The simplest thing ever that he had blown up because of the simplicity of the product, but the effectiveness of what it did. And so I remember I was like, I've got to go back to the original thought of I just need a spray bottle to attach to baby wipes. And I remember I created a story on my social media page because I was like, there was one thing I had not tested with my target market, and that was asking if anyone buys baby wipes dispensers, like the actual, like when you take it out and you put your wipes into. Some people do, obviously, because they're being made, right? But my audience, out of 200 people voted, only one person said yes, that they pay for a baby wipes. Like, what are those even called? Like a
Dispenser?
is that what it's called when you take your wipes out of the actual pack and then stick it in like a cute. Anyways, everyone
Yeah.
used the wipes pack that they just come in, right? And I remember just being like, there was like this feeling of relief and defeat at the same time because I had put so much work into trying to develop this baby wipes dispenser and working with like 3D renderers and people on Fiverr and trying to get this all put together. And then I was like, I've got to figure out how to just attach it to the wipes. And so that's where the journey of the actual product came.
It feels like you're super humble through this whole process. Like you had the idea, you had the drive to follow through, but the feedback and people saying your original idea and that wasn't working, it almost sounds like you weren't fazed by this. But I'm curious, did you ever have moments where you were like, this isn't going to work? I'm not going to do it. Did the imposter syndrome or fear ever creep in? Or did you just have this knowing of, I'm going to figure it out. This is going to work.
I think I still have moments of fear and doubt, and I think that's just a part of what it is, right? And if you have that end goal, that means more than the fear. I think that's what kept me going. And the validation of the work I had put in to understanding that this will help other moms and it will help me. I knew I had the right concept. I knew how much it was going to help people. I just I hadn't found the right way yet. And so for me, it was until something stops me or something doesn't let me push forward, I'm just going to keep pushing forward. Because eventually you'll either hit that forward momentum and things will start to, the wheels will start turning, or it's just, you're going to keep hitting a wall. And that's where, maybe you move on to the next idea. But for me, it was a daily battle of, my husband talked me through so many just constant crying and I am not the right person for this. I think it was more that there was never a doubt in the idea because I am also a consumer. I'm a consumer of my product, right? That's another benefit that I have, that I was using it and I was experiencing it with the other moms after I had developed it and I knew what it needed to be. I knew exactly what it needed to be. And so I knew it was the right product, but I am not your typical business person. And so there was a lot of crying and fear in the sense that I'm a goofball. I'm a weirdo. I'm scared of humans. I would rather talk to animals. I'm making these silly videos online. No one's going to take me seriously. I am not the right person for this. So it was it was more that than disbelief in the product, but because I had such a belief in the actual product that I was making and the need for it to work for my son and my daughter, that was going to trump the fear. I cannot believe you guys are interviewing me on a podcast right now. Like, that's what's going through my mind right now, of this goofball mom who is not professional in any shape or form. So those are a lot of the things I battle with even now on a daily basis.
Lora, I've only known you for 53 minutes, but you always have a seat at our table. You are so welcome here.
Thank you.
Um, this mini series is called The Making of a Founder, and I think what you just described was terrific in kind of what we're trying to highlight here. I'm curious, as you've reflected on your story, how have you as a founder had to change and evolve from going to startup to like coming up with like logos and names and all that to actually product design and like getting customer feedback? Now you have a business. Now you have a website. People are buying your product. So now I imagine it's growth and scaling things and operations and efficient systems and processes. And I imagine you can't do everything yourself. So how are you hiring people and outsourcing stuff? When you reflect on your journey, how have you evolved as a founder in the different processes of the business?
Oh my gosh. It is, there's just like so many different things that have made little effects and changes on me as a founder. But one of my goals this year specifically was to stop having so much doubt in myself and to like believe that I deserve a seat at this table, even though I may have done things in an unconventional way. But I think that when I first started the business, a lot of me was just trying to validate, right, that people would buy it. And when it started off, and I was hand making these and selling them on Etsy and then selling out, and then, continually hand making, and then getting to the point of finding a manufacturer and then assembling everything and then getting to the point where they packaged everything. Right now, my husband and I pretty much do everything. My goal was to have a certain amount of profit before I even spent a dime on marketing. So everything in my first year, we hit 100,000 in sales from just me posting reels on Instagram. And I'm really lucky that I have like the most incredible siblings ever. I am like the dud of my family. Like my siblings are amazingly successful people, and my sister is a VP, and what she does is advertising for Meta. So once I got to the point where I thought I have enough profit that we can now start spending money, that was scary for me. That was probably one of my biggest fears, was spending money on the company and losing all that money that I had just worked so hard for. But that's kind of at the place where it's at right now. But my goal is to have people who know way more than me take care of it. I I have my sister run the ads. I don't give feedback. I don't question what she does. She tells me what what type of creative I need to work on, and that's what I do. And so in the future, when I do get to that point where I want to hire people and it is moving in that momentum, thank goodness, right? I want to do the same thing. I don't know everything about business. I don't know a lot about the finances. I don't know, and I don't want to. That's not a passion of mine. I want to hire someone who I can help motivate and encourage, but say, I believe in you. Let's do this, and you take care of it. So for me, I think where I'm honing in and trying to really work on what I can do for the business, it's still creating content because that has worked. But it's also being brave and reaching out and networking and trying to get my face out there more and trusting other people to be a part of the business and help it grow. Because it is my baby, right? But I need other people and their expertise to really push it out there.
Okay, so you've been very strategic. And Hayden, this is one of the things that I've noticed about Lora is we'll either message each other about different entrepreneur meetups, or we'll go, and she's one of those people when you go to an event or you go somewhere and you're like, who do I need to meet? You need to meet Lora. And you've gotten a taste of this. She's just real. She's so humble, but you just relate to her, and you'll see that same thing in her content. So go and look her up. Follow her at Bonobo Baby on Instagram. Do you have TikTok too? Or you're just on Insta?
No, I'm on TikTok. I don't post I feel way more comfortable with my Instagram community than TikTok. So for me, it's also I wanted to become an expert in one area, right? And so Instagram, I had a good time. I have fun making content. TikTok doesn't provide me with that. I feel like the audience is a little scarier to me. I don't know why, but yeah, Instagram, TikTok, I have a shop and I make sure to post on there for sales, but Instagram's where I really love to connect and to build that community with my customers. I love that connection with them and I love that they message me and they send me pictures of the product. It just, I feel so connected with my consumer through Instagram.
Yes. And you're killing it on Instagram. And I think we all resonate. I wish that we could pull up a picture of what the Bonobo Baby bidet looks like because it's awesome. Like, I don't even think we talked about the final design yet of how it. Do you have it? Show us. Okay,
Look
tell
at
us.
that.
Tell
Of
everybody
course,
if
I
you're
have it. It's everywhere in my house.
if you're listening but you can't see the video, get on YouTube so that you can see what this actually looks like. Laura, explain to us. Will you show us how
Yeah.
this
So
works?
basically, this is exactly look how gross my wipes pack is that I use. But this is what the product came down to. And this is chocolate. It's not poop. I have to make a lot of content that looks like poop. But anyways, so it is this neoprene pouch, right? That holds this portable spray bottle. You tuck it into the pouch, and then it has this secure elastic that you secure around your baby wipes, or you can clip it to your diaper bag. It seems so simple, which it is, right? That was the whole goal, was you don't understand the complexity, right? I do because of all the stuff that went into it, but I want this to be so simple that you forget about it, but you're so grateful when it's there. But when it came to the material, neoprene, it had to be waterproof and durable. I wanted this to last. And so I had to teach myself how to sew neoprene, which is not easy. And then I had a mom actually reach out to me and she was like, I need you to implement the rubber band hack. Like, it needs to make it so only one wipe comes out at a time. And I was like, how am I going to do that? And I remember I was wearing these shorts one day and they had like this like cord lock. And I was working on sewing, right? Trying to teach myself how to sew and trying to think, how do I make it so it like secures? And I looked down and I was like, my drawstring, it tightens. And so that's how, like, the cord lock, right? And then I had another mom say, I would love to be able to have one on a wipes pack at home. And then I'd love to have one hooked to my diaper bag. And I thought, done, easy. So that was the whole concept of the pouch, had to have all these elements. And then when it came to the spray bottle, because I did not invent this, like, spray bottles are already around, right? But it had to be like the perfect amount of mist that you're not like drenching your baby so that they're sitting in a poop puddle. And it had to be light enough to not scare them, but enough to break up the poop, right? So I actually had a lot of moms test different spray bottles and their favorite was this one, and it was my favorite too because there's no cap. It's completely flat top. So baby is not going to pull off a cap and choke on it, and it's not going to leak. So those were all, and it had to be plastic. I literally would practice chucking these against the wall to make sure they wouldn't break. And then I would huck this into, like, I would tuck it into its pouch, secure it around the baby wipes, and huck it across the room to make sure that the spray ball didn't pop out because it had to all just be there. So it's simple, but there's a lot of elements to it to make it work the way that it does.
That's amazing. How many prototypes did you go through until you finally got the final product?
I probably sewed like 30 different styles of pouches, and they were so complicated. And I remember looking at like a chapstick container
Mm.
and being like, duh, this is what it needs to be because I need them to be able to take it out with one hand. And I can't have like a little clip because at first there was like this little pouch thing with a button that you would have to push. And then there were like these 2 straps that were elastic that you could like somehow secure. It wasn't going to work. And there were so many different versions that until I saw that chapstick container, I just thought, this is so beautifully simple. This is what I need to model it after.
And Hayden, Laura, I think I have 2 different versions of the water bottle. I think I have one of your original ones, and then I
Ew.
have the version that you have now.
Yep.
And I love it. Hayden, she would literally, in the beginning, she was going to all of these. We have these little events in Utah, different parades and like vendors that will come to these little towns. And she was at all of them. Like she would go, she set up this huge booth. When I ordered, she literally drove the order to my house. I was like, who is this woman doing all of this stuff? Like you could just feel her passion, her goodness in all of it. But then you're a mom. I kind of want to explore this piece just a little bit. Like a lot of times I think the thing that holds us back for going for an idea is number one, the fear. We've talked a little bit about that. Imposter syndrome. It's not going to work. The resistance feedback that we get that's just not working. Now let's just talk logistics. Like being a mom, and especially at the ages that they're at right now, I know what that's like. And plus the day-to-day things, like we got to clean our house at least sometimes. We got to go get groceries. Like, how do you literally come up with sew your own products, start selling, create this thing while your husband's working, you have 2 kids? Like, give us the real deal. Is it just like you have to buckle down and things are going to suck for a while, or just what? What? How do you do it?
I don't clean my house ever. No, but like literally my house is always a disaster. It's like a once every 3 weeks where I'm like, I should probably do this. So that got sacrificed. My mom is a huge reason that I have been able to make this dream a reality. She believed in me so much where when I kind of had this idea, she was like, well, just do it. Like, that's kind of how it was just, then just do it. Go and just find a spray bottle. Like, that's kind of where I was like, okay, I'll just take a step. And then when I would have to start sewing, because I think I sewed about at least a little over 1,000 of these before I started having them manufactured. So my mom would come over and she would hang out with Breeze and I would be at the sewing machine, right? And I'd have Breeze in front of my daughter's name is Breeze, by the way. I would have her in front of me. Lachlan was in school, so he was going to a special school for autism where he would be there for about 6 hours out of the day. But when it came to, and even now when it comes to creating content, if you go to my social media page, nothing is perfect. The lighting is not good. Just nothing is what you see in these, like, it's just not clean, right? There's no like aesthetically pleasing thing about my account. It is a mess. And the reason it is that way is because I have about 10 minutes, right, to film something, edit it, and post it. And I try to get at least 4 out there a day. And so a lot of it is just, I'm not worrying about how perfect everything is. I'm worrying about, is it going to create an emotional reaction in someone, and is it relatable, and is it real? And if it's real to me, then I'll typically post that kind of content. But there's a lot of sacrifice and guilt, I think, that comes from being a mom and trying to also be an entrepreneur, because they're 2 different roles. And I constantly am struggling with, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just worked for 2 hours and my daughter was watching Spider-Man, right, for 2 hours while I'm trying to email and create ads. And so it is hard. And there's a lot of just me trying to figure out, how do I balance this and how do I make sure my kids know that they're my number one focus, but how do I also work on this business that I am doing for them and for me. Like, I would like to just say that this is only for my children, and I'm like such a great mom that there's no selfish like reasons at all. But no, I am also doing it for myself 100% too. Like I'm as big of a part of that as wanting this exceptional life for my children too.
In corporate America, we don't, no one likes to be surprised. And leaders don't like surprises. So we completely change our operating system to give pre reviews before the meeting and then more pre reviews. And so everyone's prepared and knows exactly what to say. Entrepreneurs are built different. And I think one thing reflecting on your story so far, Lora, is you have this amazing ability to just like 80-20 rule. Just like, let's just move forward. Like, let's get a little bit better today. Like, the light's not perfect. Maybe the caption's not perfect. I could spend 10 hours. Like, I do a lot of the social media for our podcasts, and I know what that process looks like. And it's like, oh, do I really want to go back and re-edit that one tiny little thing? Not really. Send.
Yep.
Have you always been like that? Has that just like Brooke's been an example? It sounds like that's just the entrepreneur way, but it feels like that's your style and it's really working for you.
I've like with my Instagram account, I tried to be at the beginning the kind of person that was so planned, and it was just this beautiful, beautiful. Like I can't make anything aesthetically pleasing. Like it's just not in my DNA, but I like tried. I was trying to follow what other business accounts were doing, right? I was like, okay, they're so professional. The whenever they show up on camera, these women look so beautiful. Their makeup's done, their hair's done, they're in. So I started trying to do that and like really caring about my appearance and everything. It was so exhausting. And I was just like, this is not me and I'm not having fun. And
Yeah.
so I think I'm kind of the person too that I would like to enjoy what I'm doing. And so with my business, even, I kind of just do what I want.
I think this is your secret sauce. I think this is why you've grown as fast as you've grown and why you've seen the success is because you are putting in the reps and you're being yourself and people resonate with that. I learned so much from that. Hayden knows, I mean, I got fired from the editing position, Lora, because I have these like perfectionistic tendencies, but I resonate so much with what you say around like, you just got to send, you just got to go. And that's a lot of times what makes it fun and people get to know you that way. So I'm curious for someone like me who's just, oh, I have these things, but I have these tendencies that I want it to be a certain way and I struggle with that. What advice would you get for those that are like, I wish that I could just show up like Lora shows up and with all the stuff, but I can't get myself across the threshold? Were there specific things that you did that helped you to do that? I mean, I think there's fear of rejection. Like there's so much there, right? But what would be some tips that you can give or like what are small steps that we can take to make the shift?
I think that the more uncomfortable you are and the more you don't want to do something, that's when you need to do it. So I wanted to be this image of perfection and I wanted people to think I had everything together, and I wanted to make sure that all my content was planned and perfect. And there was this big fear of if it's not that way, then nobody will like it. And what if people don't like it? That means it's not legit. And if no one comments, no one likes me. And I am a big people pleaser and I think no one likes me. Like that's like my personality trait is like when people meet me, they hate me. I don't know why. I just think that way. I'm so annoying in my mind. And so I was so afraid of putting myself out there because of that fear of rejection. But there's another person that I listen to, and it's Alex Hermosi. He's a great business guy. His wife is a genius too. And he said things about starting a business that just really resonated with me, that you have to keep doing it in order for it to get more comfortable. Like the more you fail, the more you're okay with it, right? The more you get rejected, the more you're okay with it. He said your goal is to have people say no to you so that you're not afraid to ask people. And so with posting content, I just thought, okay, this is uncomfortable. When I show up as my real self, I feel awkward. And then when you go viral for the first time, it is horrifying. People are so mean. And I remember I never wanted to post again, right? But Alex Hermosi, right? He said something it was something like, everyone knows that a business is hard. Like they all know that. You all go into it knowing that it's going to be hard. And then you're in it and you're upset and you're sad. And he says, this is the hard. this is what's hard. You're in it. So just do it. And so even with like the trolls and all of that, if you're scared to post, if you're scared to show up, you should be doing it. And the more you do it and the more people don't like your content, the more it actually benefits you, because that fear of rejection starts to go away. My stuff fails and flops all the time. There are times like it hits, right? And that's like endorphins. And I will tell you, it feels good. It does. And then you're almost more disappointed when something doesn't land. That now I'm just like, what resonates? Am I connecting with my audience? Am I being myself? Do I think it was fun to create that? I'm going to. And it is more beneficial to me when one of my reels only gets like 25 likes, right? And I'm just like, well, I'm going to keep it up there and we're going to try again. So I think you have to keep doing whatever you're so afraid to do, because that's the only way it's going to actually become a strength of yours.
So, Lora, you talked about going viral for the first time and just how exhilarating I imagine that probably was. Do you have a success story when you had like the first time you had like a really great sales day and you were just like, okay, I did it. Like the business is going to work.
Yeah, I do. Actually, it was a year ago in December, and thank goodness, I had just gotten my first manufactured shipment of baby bidets in, because there's no way I would have been able to keep up with the orders if I was hand sewing them. I had started to kind of figure out that the content for the baby bidet that was working for me was doing actual demonstrations of cleaning poop, but not like peanut butter off of like pumpkins or apples, and that was working, and that's what kind of like sales were starting to pick up in that sense. But the first time one went, I think it got 39 million views, was I was trying to demonstrate cleaning a baby girl, but obviously in the most like tactful, like safe way possible by not ever showing children. And so I just like put peanut butter in between my fingers so that you could like see that if you use water, you can clean those areas a lot easier. And it just like took off. And my husband and I were driving to Vegas, and because we were like doing a New Year's Eve trip together, and then we were going to meet up with my siblings. And I remember us driving, and Shopify has this like cha-ching sound when you make a sale. And we're just driving, and I think I had been maybe selling 9 a week before that moment. And it was like, we're driving and it was like, cha-ching. And then we're like, yay. And then cha-ching, cha-ching. And we're just both like, what is happening? What is happening? And I think I got like 70 orders in that day. And we had we had brought some with us, right? Just in case we got some orders. And I remember we're in this hotel. We were supposed to go to this masquerade, and we're both dressed up, and we're just like assembling and printing and packaging. And we were both just so elated because I think it was just this moment of, holy cow, if we get in front of the right people, they buy the product, which was amazing. And it was kind of a shift of what kind of content will help people understand how beneficial a little spray bottle that fits around your baby wipes is. But I remember that moment was just crazy.
Okay, so here's the plug for anybody listening. And listen, now I don't have kids that are in diapers anymore, but even my 4-year-old, whenever he sees the Bonobo spray bottle that I have, he gets so pumped, because guess where I use that? Guess where I use it? I use it when we're out and about. When my kids get sticky hands, when I get sticky hands, you have no idea how this is benefited and blessed my life in so many different aspects. So if you're listening, go give Lora some more cha-ching cha-chings through Shopify, and you can use this anywhere. It's literally amazing. And Lora, every time that I've brought it to a baby shower or whatever else, it's been a hit. Everyone's like, ooh, what is this? What is this new thing? So you're doing amazing. Like,
You.
I love hearing these stories and I think it gives some hope. Like for those of us that we have ideas, or, you didn't even believe or think that you were the person to do it. You saw a problem, you've stuck with it, you've kept on going, you continue to grow and innovate. It's just inspiring. Thank you for inspiring us today.
Thank you.
It's been amazing.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Laura. Brooke stole my thunder, but before you joined when we were off camera, I told Brooke, I'm grateful for talking to you today for two reasons. One, I already have my baby bidet in the cart. True story. I'm not just saying that, to make you happy. So I will be getting one for my baby girl like the second we drop off here. And then two, now all of our friends right now, Laura, are in the phase where they're all popping out kids. So like every weekend we have a baby shower or someone's birthday or whatever. And like even literally this morning, my wife and I, her parents were here. So we actually got to go to the gym together, which is something
Oh,
we used to always do. And now we never get to go together because someone's got to
yep.
be with the kid. So we got to go to the gym together and then ran to Target to get a present for this little kid's birthday. Now we can just get them this. So we don't have to think about presents anymore. We'll just get them the Bonobo Baby. So this is awesome. You're going to start
Yay.
seeing some sales in
Thanks.
the Carolinas now. So you just remember me when you get,
Oh.
super rich.
Oh, I love it.
Okay.
Laura, are there any last thoughts that you want to leave with our listeners? Anything that you've learned over the course of this business, anything to do with imposter syndrome, or just a message that you'd like to leave us with before we close it out?
I think that with imposter syndrome, as you mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, no matter what level of life or business or anything that you are doing, um, you have those moments of feeling like you're not the right person or you're not qualified. To me, I try to think of it as that's normal. It would be weird if you didn't. It's called being human, and we're supposed to have those feelings. They help drive us, they help us do better, they keep us humble. So I think that if you are feeling like those doubts or fears, take that as actually a good thing of you being just a human. And it's not a sign, it's not like your internal sign of actually I shouldn't be doing this. It's just your sign of, yeah, this is scary and putting ourselves out there is scary and it's normal to feel fear. Um, so you just have to keep doing it and expect that to be a normal part of doing anything in your life that is risky or something that puts you out of your comfort zone.
It's a message we all need to remember. It's the human experience. We're all experiencing it together. And when we take that back, it just makes life better, makes it fun. We've loved having you on the show. Hayden, I feel like you need to close us out. Your closeouts are the best.
Well, we started this episode with me learning that you two literally played soccer in high school together. So I was just like, oh dear, what am I getting into here? This has been one of my favorite episodes, Laura. You're lovely. Bonobo Baby, we're huge fans. I'm going to be a customer in less than 30 minutes.
I love it.
Thank you so much for the time and all the lessons. And my one takeaway before we close is you just come across as so unbelievably genuine and authentic. And so it's funny to even hear someone like you feel like you struggle with imposter syndrome. Because, like, again, I've known you for an hour and a half now. And like you come across as like so confident in like who you are, so genuine, so authentic. And as a founder, to say things like, I don't really care about the finances, or like there's details about the business that I don't really care. Like you care about it, but it's like, I'm going to have someone run it and I'll motivate them and I'm comfortable with the role that I've done. That's rare. It is very rare to have a business leader, a founder, be comfortable with the role that they're playing and build the business that they want to be a part of. And I think that's your secret sauce is you have built something that 100% is you. And it's like the whole episode, we started at the very beginning with you saying, this business has been so successful, but right now what I love is that I'm a mom to two. That's how we started this episode about your business that you founded. And that theme has been evident in the entire episode. And it's just your North Star, you always know where it is. I just like, you always know where it's pointing. And I just think that is super cool, and it's been evident in your story. And you also are just doing what you love to do. And so it's just so inspiring to like meet people and talk to people. And honestly, Lora, like learn from you and your story, and like you're following True North, you're having fun doing it. That is your mission statement. It's been super cool. So I've had a blast.
Wow, thank you so much. That's very kind of you to say that. Even now, see the imposter syndrome in me is like, stop saying those things. Like that is not me. Like don't no. Like you misunderstood who you are talking to. But I appreciate that so much. And yeah, my kids definitely are everything. And I credit me being able to show up as myself to my son because he does have autism, and that kid shows up unapologetically as himself in front of everyone every day, and he's constantly on my mind of when I feel uncomfortable or I feel weird. I just think of my little beatboxing 6-year-old who will be running back and forth out at the playground and people staring at him like he's so weird, and he has a big smile on his face. And so for me, it's like I appreciate you seeing me trying to be my authentic self because that is inspired by my little boy. So thank you.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing your story. That's Lora Palmer, everybody, from Bonobo Baby. For now, y'all, that's the pod.